I love this time of year, Marty. Early May to July. Cumber earlies are out. It's fantastic. A noble butter. Oh, they're delicious. They're
Yeah, but
absolutely delicious.
Justin, they are a PGA product in Northern Ireland. They are one of the very few. But Cumber has another secret, Justin, and it's got a new secret. Da 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 da.
You have the bottle. You have the bottle from Whiskey Talk, and you have the bottle there with you. Where did you get that bottle?
VIP. There was a limo stopped up outside my house today, Justin. And funny, he said he stopped at Carrick to drop off your bottle, but missed it and just drove up and left me off. You know.
All right.
Ah, well, here we go. Jarlath, how are you, my friend?
Morning, Justin. Yeah, all good. Busy wee week, as you'd imagine. But yeah,
I can't
imagine. Yeah, you know, the Cumber earlies just aren't it's without a fresh herring and a bit of butter. That's down our way. It's Cumber earlies, fresh herring, bit of butter. It's always about first or second cut silage time. You know that comes in, and you know someone's here, but that's your diet for about 3 months. You know, I love it.
For anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about there, Cumber earlies are a type of potato that are grown in Cumber, which is in County Down, the county below County Antrim, where I am, where me and Justin are, just below that. And they're a protected geographical indication. They can only be grown in Cumber. But you've done it again, the guys down at Ecklandville. Not content with resurrecting the old legendary Dunville's brand, you've decided you're going to do the old Cumber as well. So, how did that come about?
I'm not too sure. How did it come up? You know, we worked with Fionnán O'Connor and the society. God, two years ago maybe. Fionnán was up in Prony, the Public Records Office in Belfast.
Knee deep in books.
Knee deep, as Fionnán does. Fionnán O'Connor does. He's a historian of Irish whiskey.
You had him on last week.
Yeah, you did. Interesting guy. Can talk.
Oh, he's brilliant.
Fionnán phoned me, like, just super excited, bursting down the phone. Jarlath, where are you? I says, I'm in the Duke of York. I was actually there with the guys from Dick Mac's pub. We're up. He says, right, I'll be there in 10 minutes. I've got someone. And Fionnán arrived with just, bursting with excitement, the original Old Cumber mash bill. He was up trying to actually get a lot of information on Dunville's and Old Cumber and different, obviously, northern distilleries. I think he struggled with Dunville's a lot more because it was all very, high-end stuff.
Corporate stuff.
Yeah, whereas Old Cumber, you get into the workrooms, actually got the mash bills and the day books, which is where the real meat is. And Peter White and Finn from Dick Mac were there, and Fionnán, and I think maybe Sergio was there, I'm not too sure, from Irish Whiskey Mag. And lo and behold, it's not just the Old Cumber mash bill, but it's also temperature, cut points, cask finish information, cask purchase information. And we go, do you fancy doing this? And I'm like, do I? We're literally 10 miles away from Cumber. It's our local, even more than Dunville's, it's our local distillery. We just jumped at the idea, we were double distilling pot still anyway. In honor of Old Cumber and County Down, we were doing that as a matter of course in our distillery. But to do it with the Old Cumber mash. So, long story short, we laid down the Old Cumber mash bill and have been doing limited runs of that ever since, with an idea that, hey, do you know what? In 7 years' time, we'll put out an Ecklandville Old Cumber mash bill release.
Yeah.
And I suppose the more we've done it, and the more we work with Old Cumber, and the more you said it about the place, it just started to sound right.
Yeah.
And obviously Shane being a lover of old brands and what he does, and Mark Thompson, who does our branding, being a lover of old brands and knowing so much about Old Cumber from his research, it just all started to fall into place. And we thought, and then the BBC programme, the Whiskey Talk programme that Justin referred to, was coming out, and we featured the Old Cumber mash bill story on that, and we were talking about it for a while, and that sort of crystallised. You know what? We're going to do it, and we're going to try and do it in line with the programme. And
Yeah.
like all good things, you need a deadline, and that was a deadline that sort of got everybody's arse kicked a bit. And in truth, I don't know how we managed to keep it secret, but we managed to keep it completely under the radar.
I must admit, Jarlath, the branding is superb. I mean, it really pays homage to the old stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah, funny, you've picked that old label, but there's another old label from the late 1800s that is very similar to the label we put out. It's in the Samuel Bruce time. If you look at our bottle, it has the letters SB.
Yeah.
In the red above Old Cumber. Now, most people see that, think that's Shane Braniff.
That's a happy coincidence, all the same.
I looked at it, and for about 5 seconds, I thought that too, until I remembered that Samuel Bruce owned the distillery. He bought it in 1872. He bought Old Cumber. I think he sold it in 1922, so he had it for 50 years. And during Samuel Bruce's time, he put his initials on the bottle. So you will find that label in old posters and in old mirrors, and you'll find it in the Duke of York, a label very, very similar to that. And as we like to do, even with the Dunville stuff, we like in our first releases to be very, very true to the old branding.
It's one of the things I've complimented on you many times. The fact that you do stick to the labels, that obviously you change them a little bit, but they do stick to them.
And then as time goes on, we can put our own twist to it, but not until we believe that we have made a mark on the brand, and at that point we'll put our own twist to it. Like 1808, with the first Dunville releases was the VR and the Three Crowns were very, very much paying homage to the old brands. And again, that's what we've done. Mark and Shane, our designer, Mark Thompson, who was on the Whiskey Talking program, and Shane were just in their element with this for the last 3 months. They actually kept it from me. I didn't see it until like 3 or 4 days before it went to print, By that time, I can't say what I like about it. It's too late, but no, I absolutely love it. It's got an old world feel to it. It captures Old Cumber perfectly, and I think it actually captures what's in the bottle perfectly. So, I mean, I just couldn't be happier with what Shane and Mark have done. Shane and Mark do it well. In fairness, they do that very well.
Well, put it like this, I've complimented you many times on the attention to detail in the bottle. So I really do. I think they just look fabulous. They do. To do
it on something so local to us as Old Cumber, yourself, like guys. I mean, Old Cumber is held in high, maybe even more than Dunville's. Dunville's is a far bigger brand and a far bigger animal, but Old Cumber is held in. Old Cumber's in sacred territory almost. I guess there's still living memory of Old Cumber didn't close till the mid 1950s.
Yeah.
So I think that's still in living memory, and certainly about the Ards Peninsula, where we are, it's 10 miles from Cumber, and we know that very well, and it's still in living memory. So I mean, it is held. It was almost tread carefully with Old Cumber, and do it justice and be loyal to what the brand is. But we've seen that in the reaction in the last week. I mean, it's just been off the chart.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we keep saying this. There's a reason people take whiskey more seriously than they take the likes of vodka. And there's a reason for it, and it is the history and the heritage. I get challenged a few weeks ago about, you just love whiskey. You love whiskey. Yeah, yes, I do, but I love it for many, many more reasons than having a drink. I love it because I like the history. I like the design labels. I like the stories behind it. And that's a vehicle for things. And that's why bringing back some of these, the way you guys do it, I genuinely appreciate it, because you always see yourselves as custodians of the brands. Yeah. Not just cashing in on it.
Well, I mean, it's very much, these brands will be about long after I'm in the ground, and Shane's in the ground, and if we can leave them in a better place than we got them, that's really as much as we can do, and in 50 years' time, if somebody refers to Shane in the same way as they refer to Samuel Bruce or to the Dunville family, if they're mentioned in the same sentence, well then, that's our job done, really, because we've made an indelible mark on the brand.
Is this the most accurate recreation of an old whiskey that's ever been done with this mash bill investigation?
Yes, probably yes and no, Justin. What's in the bottle at the minute is not the old mash bill.
Right.
Because we only done that 2 years ago, and what's in the bottle there's just about 5 years old. So what's in the bottle is predominantly, and I'll use the word predominantly, and you take your own interpretation of that, it's predominantly double distilled pot still from our distillery. And I mean predominantly as in, the sort of highly predominantly.
Yeah.
And we could have went out, we could have went down the source whiskey route, but Old Cumber, like I say, I mean, it is tread very carefully. Old Cumber is revered for double distilled pot still whiskey.
Heavy bodied.
Yeah, you don't mind. Sorry, Marty.
Heavy bodied, oily pot still whiskey.
It's exactly that. And to go on triple distilled from anywhere else just it wouldn't have been true to the brand. It would not have done the brand justice. So we decided to open our warehouses, took out our double distilled pot still from Actonville, and put predominantly that whiskey into it. Now it is a pot still blend, and there's amounts of other pot still in there.
Yeah,
but it's predominantly double distilled County Down Actonville whiskey.
It's port cask finished.
It's port finished. We also have some in sherry, and if you go back through the Dunville state,
don't be opening it. It's worth a fortune. Don't be opening it. What are you doing? What are you doing?
I got one bottle and it's open. I didn't even get 2 bottles. I got 1 bottle and it's open. So I mean, it's so those historic mash bills, Justin, will come on stream in 5 years' time. Our aim is to get this to a 7-year pot still, and possibly even a 7 and 10 year, and some single cask releases also. But obviously, we're only at, even our own spirit is only at 5 years currently. So what we're going to have for the next 2 years is a work in progress until we get to that 7-year mark, and we'll have a core release. So for the next 2 years, you're going to see limited releases at 46%, possibly 1 or 2 limited single cask releases. Go back to the Dunville Staybirds, Marty, as well as knowing the cut points and the distillation techniques to distill that Old Cumber mash bill and the mash bill itself. We also know that their purchasing records would show that the barrels they were purchasing, the cask they were purchasing, range from 2/3 port, 1/3 sherry to 2/3 sherry to port. So we know it was approximately 50-50 port and sherry was what the cask they were using for 100 years. So again, we're laying this spirit down in port and sherry casks, and we're going to play about with those casks before the next release. But for this release, it was only in a fresh report cask.
Now this, in terms of mash bill, this is malted and unmalted barley. There's no other grain in this, is there?
This is about 65 to 70% malted barley. The balance being unmalted barley. There's no rye, oats, or wheat in there. In the Old Cumber mash bill, you'll have 17 to 23% oats, both malted and unmalted. We play about with both. The records don't tell us if they're malted or unmalted, so we do both just to be sure. But yeah, so it's what you're tasting, the work in progress. I wish that I'm very pleased with it. For what it is, I'm exceptionally pleased with it. I think it embodies the spirit of Old Cumber in there. I firmly believe that it's just, it will get better, and it will get more true to the brand. But for what's there, I'm absolutely delighted with it.
I had to zoom in on that. What does it taste like?
It's lovely. It's really nice. It's nice and sweet. It's getting a nice peppery pot still spice to it. It has a nice oily, rich, and it's finishing. It's still finishing. It's finishing really well.
That creamy. I mean, and it's double distilled pot still, so there's a load of viscosity in there, and that creaminess just carries the spice right the way through.
It's got. It's funny because it's got a nice sort of. It's nice. Got almost like a chili burn to it, but it's a pleasant. It's got that pleasant. It's not fiery. It's got a nice sort of burn, mellowing warmth to it. Yeah,
we did play about with it at a higher ABV, but put it into 46 was just where the spice was right. For flavour notes, we sat in Monday to write flavour notes for this, to write the tasting notes. Stephen Graham and myself, and it was all over the place. There's so much going on there. There's that creamy pepperminess. I get the sort of almond cake, like a Battenberg cake. There's definitely the toffee. It's a toffee, for me, it's a toffee off a toffee apple type idea.
I could get that. For me, there's a like a Victoria sponge note to it. Is that?
There is, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, so,
big.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's a medium spice there that just carries straight into a warm finish. It almost turns out after you get this sort of Battenberg cake and the toffee apples it almost turns to me to like a raspberries and cream comes through from the pork craft, almost like like a good eating mess or a good pavlova, type flavor.
Justin knows all about eating messes and pavlova. Don't worry about that.
Listen, I love pavlova, but I hate eating mess. I do hate eating mess. Honestly, I don't like it. It ruins a good pavlova, breaking it all up.
Well, then we'll say this is pavlova, not eating mess. And I mean, and you know what? I mean, we could have waited another 6 months or a year to put this out. We had to. There was sort of, we wanted to get it out in line with it. Ultimately, it comes down to liquid, and the liquid for us, for Graham, myself, and Stephen and Shane, it was ready. And like I say, you will see a progression, and that's good to see that progression too. We've seen it with Dingle, and we've seen it with Tilling, and you'll start to see it with us through Old Cumber and different stuff, But just nice to have some juice out there,
It is. It's always nice to have something new to talk about, Justin.
Yeah, it is.
No.
But come back then to the Old Cumber, Marty, and I don't know if many are aware. The direct link, we now have Dunvilles and we're doing Old Cumber in our stable. The direct link between those two is the Briss family. So Samuel Briss, whose initials are on the bottle, bought Old Cumber in 1872, owned it for 50 years. His brother James Briss was the director of Dunvilles. Was the director of Royal Irish. So you had that direct family link. That one brother was running Cumber, one brother was running, or was on the board of directors of Dunvilles. So it's that's the family link that now that we're going to now maybe try.
It was nearly a conglomerate before conglomerates existed. Is that what you're saying, Jarlath?
The Irish whiskey industry was a sort of small big industry, but the network was small. So yeah, that's the family link between Old Cumber and Dunvilles that we maybe try and play on through our distillery in future years. But it's nice, that was a nice story to find.
We're not going to talk to you for too much longer because I know you're busy doing lots of talks this week. With what you're doing for Dunvilles, is Old Cumber going to be your release for Ecklenville pot still? Is that going forward? Will all your pot still be released under Old Cumber, or can we expect an Ecklenville pot still?
That sort of assumes that we have a plan for this. I'm not too sure that we have a plan yet. There's a double distilled. We do double distilled pot still and triple distilled pot still in Ecklenville, as you know.
Yeah.
I really don't know that yet. I don't know what Old Cumber will be as it matures as a brand. I know that we only have a limited amount of double distilled pot still in the company in our warehouses, and if we want to grow Old Cumber as a brand, we might have to go beyond that. But at the same time, whatever we do, the response to this in the last 3 days has been off the chart. We launched Dunville 7 years ago to a muted, response. 7 years later, we're launching Old Cumber, and it's been off the chart. I think a lot of that is to do with where Irish whiskey is now. A lot of that's also to do with the fact that Old Cumber is living memory. I hope that a small part of it is to do with the fact that people will trust us with Old Cumber, because we've shown what we've done with Dunvilles, and they'll trust us with it. And it is important for us that whatever we do with it, whatever way we go with it, it will be true to the history, and that will always involve as much double distilled pot still from our place as we can put into it.
Now, this sold out very quickly because I know there was a very limited run on this. When can give us an idea of when they can expect to see Old Cumber supplied again? What
happened there was we wanted to put it out to tie in with the Whiskey Talk program with BBC Two last Sunday, but our labels didn't arrive in time, so we had to go and get a run of digital labels printed, 60, 70, 80, and we put those out. The rest of the batch, which could be another 300-ish bottles, I would expect to go out in 2 to 3 weeks' time, whenever the labels arrive. Obviously, that won't go very far either. And then we hope to have another release of maybe 3 casks worth, maybe 1,000 each bottles before Christmas.
Okay.
And then we're going to just work on channeling through, start to it. But I mean, for the next 2 to 3 years, unless we go down and do a mainstream release of a blend of whatever, the double distilled pot still releases will be for the next 2 or 3 years until we get to that 7-year mark. They will be staggered releases. We might play about and do 1 or 2 at cask strength as it gets older and work, but at the minute it works at the 46. And we'd always put liquid out at where it works. I'm not a proponent of putting it out at cask strength and letting people find their mark. I like to bring it down to where Graham, myself, Steve, and Shane think it works.
Yeah.
If we're wrong, we're wrong, but I don't. So that's what we'll do. So you'll see different batches from out over the next 2 to 3 years until we get to that sort of. At the minute, the plan is to get to a 7-year core release, but again, these plans change.
As we say, I suggest there's a plan, an overall arcing plan. So it's not. I might say it's slightly jam donut. It's like a jam donut now. And,
rub it in, why don't you? Rub it in.
There is like almonds and wee nice touch of spice on it, Justin.
I think, Justin, that Marty got his bottles directed to his house and they went right with you at all.
No, but like Justin's too busy talking on the phone, and the wee man stood banging at the door. Justin. Hey, Jarlath, we'll let you go, mate. It's always a pleasure, and I'll speak to you again.
Always a pleasure, yeah, anytime. Enjoy that, Marty, Justin. Thanks very much. And well, hopefully next time we can actually sit in a proper bar over a whiskey and do this properly, So,
exactly.
Yeah, we love it. Guys, appreciate it.
All the best, Jarlath. Thanks very much, mate.
Thank you. Bye-bye.